Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the ultimate Final Fantasy podcast. I am Joe.
I am Caleb.
And today, we're going to be reviewing Final Fantasy Explorers. Yeah, we said we were going to take a while on this one, and then we did not. So, fuck me.
We did not. Is that the is that the thing?
Well, I'm sorry. We did not, based upon when you actually started the fucking game.
Well,
I want to count that.
I mean, you're not supposed to start them until we both finish and review the game before. So.
That was never a rule.
It was implied.
It was just play them in order.
It was an implied rule. It was a construct.
And I barely started it. I played 4 hours of this game before you started it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So, as a recap, we wanted to beat all these games by May 15th.
Yeah.
And obviously that didn't work out. I was pretty... We moved the date up to July, right? We moved the date up to KupoCon, or end of June.
Yeah, because it just made sense.
If I had kept going at the same pace I was at, I would have made it. But, we decided to slow it down a little bit, let you catch up. Obviously, you guys in your feed, you got an entire book on tape from me that we have to review next week. And then we'll have another one of those, and then we'll review that. And maybe another one of those, and then review that, because we have 3 fucking books to finish. But yeah, and 3 books and 2 games. So, we got to space these games out a little bit here. But yeah, we decided to slow it down. And then I started playing Explorers, and I would think I was just going to beat it anyway, so that I would get a good month off or something like that for the other project I have going on. And then I realized, you know what? Well, first I got stuck. Then after getting really frustrated about being stuck, I was like, oh, I can do multiplayer. I forgot about that. And then I was like, it would be cool to do this with Schweiss.
Yeah, see, the truth comes out.
Then I decided to wait.
I wasn't good enough, so I had to have him play with me. And he wasn't going to do it, so I had to wait.
And, it's all the truth.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, it's all the truth, so I don't have any problem with it. Anyway, we only have 1 game left, and we'll probably talk about that for 20 minutes at the end of this episode, so we might as well get into the review on this one. Anyway, are you ready?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Okay. So Final Fantasy Explorers development. Real quick, it's an action role-playing game. It was released December 18th, 2014 in Japan, and then they waited a long time, in my estimation, they took almost a year, or a little over a year, to release it into other territories. In North America and in Europe, it was released late January of 2016.
Yeah. I remember there was an early episode where we announced it. I was going through the 2014 UFF, and we were like, do we think this is going to come to the States? And I was like, yeah, probably. And then it was just nothing for ever. And then it's like, oh shit, they released that one game. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is one of the few that have come out since we started the show. There's only been like 6 or 7 of them, I think.
It is. Did Lightning Returns come out before the show, like we're just before it, or during it? Do you remember?
I don't. It's one of those two, though. I think it was just before, but it was the same
so I'm
year.
Thinking it must have been Explorers, World of FF, Dissidia NT, some of the FF14 expansions, and then Final Fantasy 15. So, like, what, 4 full games in the last 5 years? Pretty low amount for Square, considering the 10 years before that, but I'm okay with them slowing it down a bit, although I wish that they had taken their time with Dissidia NT. But this game was originally conceived by Atsushi Hashimoto, who was like one of the main guys behind the second Saga game, or Final Fantasy Legend 2. Remember, Final Fantasy Legend's not a real Final Fantasy game, so just remember that. But yeah, he conceived of this game basically as a purely multiplayer Final Fantasy game. And they started working on it, and then they got to the part where they were going to have their characters like defeat some summons, and then the summons just kind of started getting more and more incorporated into the game's design, until obviously it's become a game that is mostly known for you having little summon creatures. But yeah, the main goal for this project was to create something that would attract new players to the genre. And in the end, many have compared the gameplay to Monster Hunter, and some other people have compared the gameplay to Final Fantasy XI or Final Fantasy XIV Lite.
Yeah.
So
I would say very, very light, but yes.
Yeah. There's not that much information on the development, and that's really all I could get a hold of. But this game, considered something that they made in order to like bring people to the genre, and I guess we'll decide if that was something that they actually did. But that's what I got on development. So, story though.
I real quick though, I love how he conceived of a not Final Fantasy, and then he finally was able to conceive of a yes Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
it's like that's your entryway. It's a gateway drug, a knockoff that's not really a knockoff, and then you're in.
I do wonder how much it factors into the team behind the Legend 2 and 3 games that their games are considered Final Fantasies in the West to many people, many uninformed people. Yeah. And but in the East, it's a Saga game. It's just it's a smaller, it's its own thing,
Yeah, it's probably weird. I mean, it's just as heathenous as the FF2 and FF3 conundrum that we have over here, if not more so, because, I mean, that was just because they didn't fucking release the games in any timely order over here, as opposed to just being like, shh, this one's really a Final Fantasy, even though it's not. Stupid Americans.
Yeah. We did actually review it, or at least 2 other people decided to review it on our feed, so...
Yeah,
we kind of covered it on the show. Kind of. So the story, Schweiss. I mean, this is what we play Final Fantasy for, right? It's the story.
Hell yeah, I would think so.
Let me tell you, the first thing I do when I start working on these things is I go to the wiki pages. So I go to Wikipedia, and then I go to Final Fantasy Wiki. And then sometimes, if I want to do some more research, I look at like the interviews and stuff that's linked on those pages. I gotta tell you, the story section left much to be desired, and I'll give you what was basically on the Wikia pages for the story overview. There is almost no plot. You're an explorer in the island Amostra, and you're looking for a path to the Grand Crystal. While you're doing that, you are also doing little jobs for a bunch of different factions with their own agendas, This includes 2 competing empires, a church, and a research group from a smaller country. And that is what they write down on the Wikia pages. And then I was like, please God, because we played this game, and we'll get into it in a second. I was like, please God, someone have more on the story. And I swear to God, no one has written about the story of Final Fantasy Explorers on the internet.
Yeah.
No one has. This is going to be a first. Because I remember one more detail. I remember one more fucking story detail. And I'm going to tell it to you. Anyway, the world, apparently, this is me. This is me talking based upon what I remember. The world is basically summoning these Adolians, and it's like out of balance or something like that. And you gotta defeat Therion to stop it. And he's at the Grand Crystal, and you're slowly making your way to the Grand Crystal. And that's all I remember. Schweiss, what do you remember about the story?
I mean, not much. It's a lot of just little side characters kind of telling you about new areas, new things, helping you unlock new jobs, stuff like that. I mean, it's a very adventure-esque game, so it's not really about the story at all. You know, it's about going out and exploring this world. It's called Final Fantasy Explorers for a reason. It's not so much story focused, which is really bizarre. And it honestly kind of reminds me a lot of the Seekers of Adulan, I think. Final Fantasy 11 expansion. Is that the last one? Before Rhapsodies? Before the last, like, Huzzah? Yeah, it reminded me a lot. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that, but less interesting by, like, tenfold, honestly, because that one, you actually had to fight back nature. There were parts of the mission where you had to fend off beasts while you're also trying to cut down this growth that has overrun the road, and you can't physically pass it until you do so, So it was a lot of, like, it kind of felt like what you'd imagine it would be like settling a new area that's just heavily vegetated and, like, heavily overgrown by these hyper fast, quickly growing plants, and you're just always at war with the environment almost, and really trying to, like, find your place within this world. And I really enjoyed that in that FF11 expansion. And in this game, though, it doesn't really do that. It doesn't really go there at all. It just, like, they're like, hey, you're an explorer, go explore. And it just kind of gives you quest after quest after quest to kind of go do. And there's not really much going on in the story department. You're just trying to get to the middle and, like, rebalance the world. It kind of falls into the same old trope of Final Fantasy games, rescue the world kind of thing. This one felt a lot like Crystal Chronicles, the first one, in a bunch of ways because of that as well. Not very much story, a lot of gameplay meant to be played with other people. You kind of equip up, then you go out into the world and explore, and you fight these bosses in these areas. And it had a very similar feel to that, and of course 11 at the same time. But I'd say story-wise, it's a lot closer to Crystal Chronicles, and that's me basically saying that it's non-existent for the most part.
It's non-existent, but I'm also surprised that, like, no one cared enough about this game that's relatively new enough to, like, put any, like, lore information online. I was just like, I was flabbergasted. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's weird, yeah.
I just remember, Earth is out of balance. It's summoning Adolan. So I never thought of, like, the world itself as summoning Adolan. So I do remember that being, like, one of the plot things. And you get all these other little characters, and they're like, hey, you want to go check this out for me? And then you go check it out for them, and then you got to defeat some guys and stuff like that. But it's stripped down so that you can just go and play the game. There's not really any other purpose that it holds, so it is kind of unusual for Final Fantasy in that way. But, it was conceived as a multiplayer Final Fantasy, and in many ways it still is, or at least it half is, depending on if you play the multiplayer version or not. Because, honestly, the weird thing about the gameplay is there's hardly any overlap between the multiplayer version and the single-player version. But, because there's like one big factor that's obviously very different. But yeah, not a very tropey Final Fantasy middle of the road, I guess, situation, and some characters, and no story. But it is what it is. That's what the game is. It's what it decided to be. It was just a gameplay sort of game. To get maybe newer people into the series who aren't ready for 10-minute cutscenes,
Yeah. Well, they certainly won't have to deal with them here. That's for sure.
No. They'll get about 2 lines of dialogue before every quest.
Yeah.
So there's that. So yeah, story, I say whatever, serviceable, and that's kind of my last thing about it. You're just kind of in a village and you talk to 9 different people and that's it.
Yeah, it's pretty bare bones. It doesn't really matter though for this game, honestly, because we know what the game is meant to be, and the game knows what the game is meant to be. Everybody knows, and it's really all about the gameplay.
All right. Gameplay. People call it Monster Hunter Final Fantasy. Schweiss, why do they call it that?
Because that's what it is, I would say. It's you've got your little base of operations, right? And this is one of those games that it's sort of open world. I would say for the most part, it's a pretty open world. Because you have your little base of operations, and you go around there, you can forge equipment, you can upgrade equipment, you can talk to people, unlock different classes, spend your multiple currencies to either buy new stuff or
new abilities.
Yeah, you get these crystal currency things that you can use to buy abilities for your character, your specific class. You can change your classes. You can unlock all sorts of different stuff within the game. There's a lot of unlockables, a lot of things to explore with there, and yeah, you kind of prep up. You get all your shit ready, and then you go out into the world and you explore. And this is much better than the other part of the game, for me anyway, because it's meant to be played with other people, and none of you guys, as you know, came out to play with us, which was disappointing. But at the end of the day, we found that there is a community of players that still play this thing. And they really came out of the woodwork, not really for us, but with us, and that was a good experience. So we would come together and it's weird. It's you create a room, and it's pretty flawless, honestly, for what it is. Joe and I'll join Joe, and it'll take a couple seconds for me to get in. I'll get in, and then I'll start running around. We'll start prepping for our quests, and then other random people will join, and they can join at any time. Go do whatever they want to do, and then we all meet back up at the base. We all select a quest that Joe, or whoever the party leader was, selects, and then we can all choose to either join or not join. And then Joe is the one that initiates that quest. So if, only me and Joe want to go, only me and Joe can go. The other two guys can do whatever they want. And then we go out into the world. And it becomes very Monster Hunter-like because everything you kill drops specific items. And I think it's not just one item per creature. As far as I can tell, it has some randomness to it, so you might have to farm a couple things here and there. But each creature drops something, and you can use that. You can take that back to the village and use that to craft things, or use it to upgrade your equipment, like your strength or your accuracy for your weapon, so on and so forth. There's also parts of the environment that you can interact with. So you'll come across like a bundle of sticks or like a bunch of shit just like in the road, like just stuff, fucking...
Yeah.
I don't know, like broken fucking
Someone's
sticks
campsite.
and leaves. Yeah, it almost looks like a... I don't know, it looks
no
like
one will
a...
miss this.
Yeah, it looks like a fucking... I'm going to mess with the Viet Cong is going to like flip the fucking lid open and like start shooting me, It's like something like that, and then you just like get down and you harvest it. And that's another thing where you find... you'll find little items, and you can use those items, like I said before, to go upgrade. And along the way, I mean, you have... The map is pretty intuitive in the game. It really helps you sort of see where you need to go, and then you like look at the area you're in, and you're like, oh, okay, I can get there by going here, and then you get to the next area, and you kind of have to navigate a little bit.
You do. I mean, it's the explorer thing, and luckily the map is simple enough that you can always usually find your way. It's a pretty straight shot. Sometimes there's little areas where you can veer off and go into a new area, but otherwise it's a pretty straight shot. I wanna backtrack a little bit. You were talking about multiplayer, but actually, I mean, if you're going into this game for the first time, you're probably not going to play multiplayer for the first time. And the thing that confused the hell out of me for multiplayer, because I played the single player for 4 hours, that when you get into the multiplayer, like your party is totally different. In the single player, this really is like you go, you fight monsters, and yeah, you get the item drops like you were saying, but also they drop like their souls.
Yeah.
And then you pick up their souls, and then you can go to like another place in your little village thing, and you can have like you can add these creatures to your party, and like each creature, depending on the size of the creature, is worth a certain amount of points. So you can either get 2 or 3 creatures in your party for like a total of 4, or a total of a certain amount of points.
Yeah.
And like each creature has like their strengths and their weaknesses, and then you go out, and if you're soloing this thing, apparently the party that you want is apparently 3 Black Knights. I think they're called Black Knights, right? 3 Black Knights in your party, and apparently you should be able to like beat almost anything. So that's a good future reference for anybody out there. But because when I got stuck, I was looking for ways to like improve my party.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, you can get anything like cactars, Marlboros, Tomberries, whatever. Doesn't matter. You can like have them be part of your party, and that's a pretty cool system. But it's totally when we did the multiplayer for the first time, we started a quest and it was just me and you. I was like, what the fuck? I tried to find all the options to like, where can I add my guys to the team? And you can't.
Yeah,
you can't.
Yeah.
So all like the big like summoning with your monster team stuff is only in the single player, and then in the multiplayer it's just you. It's just your characters with each other.
Yeah, which is honestly that is pretty bizarre. I mean, and I played the first 4 hours or so by myself too, because it was like, oh hey, I'm up to this fight. We're going to play this now because I don't need as much time for my movie as I thought, so you should get up to this point. So I was like, oh, okay. Playing around with it. You go to the monster arena. I'm like, oh, cool, this is nice. I get like some teammates, kind of like Final Fantasy 13-2, maybe 10-2, kind of reminiscent of that. And it's a good time. And then I get to the online, and you're right. Like all of that character development that we did for those little dudes is just kind of gone because we can't use them anymore. Also, you say soul, I say little dribble of semen is basically what we're picking up. Like it's like it's just like if you were drawing like a semen, it would potentially look like this. Very interesting. It's funny because the last game when we died, we turned into a penis And then this game, when the enemies
did we
die,
even talk about that?
I don't
Did we
think
even talk about that in the
did.
last review? Fuck.
No.
Yeah, when you die in 4 Heroes of Light, like you have like a little penis dude in the corner. Apparently, it was like a chibi anime version of like a death suit from like Japanese folklore or something like that.
Yeah, which looks awesome, but it looks like a penis in this. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a penis in that game. It just straight up looks like a dick. I put it like with the like 2 little balls too. And I put the picture up on Twitter. Might have to go back a couple months, but it's up there, and it's fucking weird.
Yeah,
in like, this game, you're right. They're kind of like semen. Like you kill one of the males of the species, and you get like a sploosh, and you like gather it up.
Yeah. Instead of like shitting your pants like you do in real life, in this game, you just come when you die. Comes out the other end. Yeah, right. I think it's funny. I love it too because it's like, dude, for the 4 Heroes of Light, it's just like the tiniest of balls on the bottom of that. It's so fucking funny. I'm like, who the fuck did this? And then, of course, we were ignorant of Japanese culture, and then I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. It's supposed to be like a weird death thing. I was like, oh, that's kind of creepy.
If only they looked like what the suit was.
Yeah. So it looks pretty crazy.
Not a penis.
No, not a. They don't look like a penis, like at all, in the lore as far as what I saw. Yeah. So one game turns into a penis. One game turns death turns into semen. So there you go.
And the semen totally worthless in the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Turns out.
Yeah.
Ironically,
it's sterilized for multiplayer. Yeah. That's for sure.
So the fights in this game, right? You're going around, you're fighting guys. There's a basic attack function, and then you have, if you use your triggers on your Nintendo DS, then you get a list of commands. Or basically, it's a combo move where you're holding like the left or right trigger, and then one of the 4 buttons, and like A, B, Y, X, and then like that's where you put your abilities, and you're doing like these moves that are a lot bigger or that have special effects or whatever, and that's kind of like how you play the game. I kind of hate the gameplay, honestly, and it has mostly to do with the control scheme. Like that combo control scheme, that was okay. I feel like there might have been better ways to do that. But mostly it had to do with, like, the targeting in this game is bizarre. And the navigation in this game is bizarre, just like moving around. You're not getting a very good or easy kind of left and right, like look around sort of a thing. And then targeting a bad guy, it gets a little, like, it gets a little weird. It gets a little squoozy. Just a little bit when you're... like running around and like you have to like fight these fucking things that if you don't kill them in 30 seconds they're gonna run off, and then you'll have to restart the quest all over again. If you're in situations like that, you kind of want that camera to be a little bit more free flowing, or maybe just like deal with like less abilities so that one of those, the R or L triggers could maybe be a little bit more useful in the navigation. But that's kind of the game. It's just like a regular action role-playing game. Got a regular attack, then you have special moves, and then you have items on top of that, which are really awesome, but they're kind of expensive. And then like occasionally you get kind of a trance mode situation, and you can use that to do like another special move that'll give you something even more awesome. Like it'll give you an elemental affinity, or it'll give you like extra boosts in your attacks or your combos and stuff like that, and you can really rail on the guys that you're fighting against. Is there something I'm missing in the scheme of the battles? Because that's pretty much what I got out of that.
No, I mean there's a lot of cooperative play at hand. So like, I mean, there's some enemies that'll do big AoE attacks that throw down a ton of status ailments, and so like I'm using Asuna. It has an AoE range, so like it has a lot of 14 elements too. when it comes to the gameplay, because they'll have beasts that'll just do these big AoE attacks, and it'll have the little lines on the ground, so you know, oh, I got to get the fuck out of here before he pounds me with whatever this crazy ass move is. And it doesn't do it as much as 14, unfortunately, because it would be really nice on some of the flying guys if it would. But it just doesn't. So, I mean, we got a lot of that. There's a lot of, like, dodging and weaving. There's not really, like, a jump function or, like, a block or anything like that. So it feels, I don't know, it feels pretty empty as far as the combat goes.
It feels like partial.
Yeah, it's, like, not complete.
Yeah.
Like,
but I mean, it is the DS, and there's less controls that you can really like fuck with. Although once again, I don't think we needed like this combos to be like so many options of combos, but maybe, I don't know. Could have used like a regular menu system to like deal with cure and items and shit like that, and then for like other stuff, maybe have the abilities be up. But that's just me. I don't know. There is a job system in this game, and that's kind of like the other like big thing about this game is that there's monsters and then there's jobs. I tried out the Ranger, I tried out the Freelancer. I feel like I tried out like Paladin or something like that. Maybe not Paladin. That seems like an upper crust one, but pretty much when I got to Dark Knight and was doing a bunch of damage, I decided to stay on Dark Knight. So other jobs were great. Like someone was, what was someone? It was a like a machinist or something like that, and they were doing like a crazy amount of damage when they joined our party. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to explore job wise, and actually like half of this game, the story is only up to like it's 5-star difficulty. You start with the 1-star quest, and then the 2-star, then 3-star. You just slowly start opening them up. And actually, like, the game itself goes all the way to 10-star difficulty. And you're trying to basically get your jobs, and you save your job defaults. It's kind of like FF11 in that way. And then you're slowly making equipment increases, or like slowly getting better and better equipment as you go along. Which might be the coolest aspect of the game, but it's also a part of the game that's like infuriating to me. As a person who doesn't like little tiny incremental improvements, I like I get really from like just like fucking like the idea in my head. I was like, wow, I'd really like a really good weapon, but then I get the thought of like, okay, how many fucking turtles do I have to kill in order to get 10 of these things that'll give me +1 on this stat, and I need 200 of that stat in order to max out, you know? Like, it gets a little ridiculous. But it is a multiplayer game in that way, and obviously the people that were playing with us, that's definitely what they were doing, because I can't imagine what the fuck else anybody would join someone who's doing level 4 quests. Like, why they would even join those people unless it was like, oh, I can get equipment for the next job I'm trying to max out.
Yeah. I think it's either that or they're starving for people to play with, so they just are like, fuck, what do I want to play? And they're like, let's throw in Explorers, see if anybody's online, and they see our party, and they're like, oh my god. And they just jump in our party, and they're like, oh fuck, yeah. What are you guys doing? And they look, and they're like, oh, they're level 20. Like, shit, I'm level 300. Like, all right, fine, I'll just carry these guys. Like, and then they leave. And I added a bunch of people as friends on there, but then I felt bad because I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to play this game again, probably. So I'm like, why did I do that?
They were like, a friend.
Yeah.
This game is only 3 years old, and like the multiplayer area is totally empty. Like, I went in there just like looking for a room, and I think there were 2 rooms available.
Yeah.
And that's like, I don't know if that's North America or what. I have no idea, but I was like, in the entire world, there's 2 rooms?
Yeah.
There are max of 8 people playing this game online right now? What? It's the middle of the day? Like, I was very confused, because this game, I think, like, it was a big release. It was kind of a, we'll talk about this in Legacy, but I mean, it was kind of a big release, big Final Fantasy release, and I can't believe just how fast it fucking went to 0, you know? Dissidia NT was a similar situation, although worse, admittedly.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's something I'm surprised by. That is just like, woof, it's just gone. No more multiplayer. But anyway, we played it, and we played it basically after the Ifrit fight, which is the second or third Idolian fight. We went through the game very quickly. We only did this in 2 sittings after that. So
yeah, we plowed, man, and it was fun to play with you again. Like I was enjoying that. I was enjoying the fact that we were hanging out and like just kind of making fun of the situations and like fucking around in the game. But like, I don't know. It honestly just it awoken a need for something better within me, which is not great for the for the game. But you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, it's so nice to be like playing something with Joe again. But then I'm like, Shadowbringers is out. I could be playing that with Joe. That's a way better game, I'm sure. Like, yeah, but I think it's just a little bit too limited by potentially the console's limitations, coupled with the fact that it wasn't. It wasn't developed super well. It's almost like it's half cooked in a lot of areas, which is unfortunate because I liked the idea of it. I like the idea of like, oh, this guy dropped this. Like, I need 10 more of these. Let's go back out there and get these farmed and go make this really awesome weapon to then like take on the rest of it. Like, I wish I would have wanted to continue through the next 5 chapters or sections of the game, but knowing that most of it is rehashed, harder difficulty versions of what we already did makes me even less desired. It makes the desire even less for me to go back in and, finish it up. Because I've gotten quite completionist on most of these games, and this one I don't want to because it's just mediocre in like every way, pretty much. And even the gameplay, like the best part about it, it's still like, could be better. I mean, the drop rates weren't as sick as FF11, so that was fucking nice. I didn't have to spend like 2 hours one-shotting these poor goblins to get this one drop that you can't buy in the marketplace. So like that was pleasant, and it's cool that people will join your party if you leave it open, because we had like no shortage of individuals joining us. There were a few points where it was just us, but for the most part there was always somebody there. So if you're gonna play this game, you should play it now. Like, you should play it now when there are people online that are so OP that they'll carry your ass, for one. And two, it's a multiplayer game, so it's supposed to be played that way. It's completely tailored to that. I don't know.
Unless you want to play the Monster Collection Pokemon version.
Yeah.
Even though I told you what the best part is supposed to be. So
yeah, which honestly I wouldn't have minded playing that either. Like,
you'll get to by like the 3-star stuff. You'll start seeing those guys. So you'll be able to kind of plow the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not much to this game. Honestly, I think we've touched upon everything that was like a gameplay aspect. The game is also like, and I was told this before we started, and I know I got stuck on Ifrit, but frankly, it was because I was on the ranger job was not very good, and my monsters in my party were probably not very good, and my weapon was not very, I hadn't upgraded in the right way. So if I had done that stuff, or if I had like added some subquests, I might have been able to take it on. But otherwise, we only had a couple moments where the game was difficult. One of the bosses was kind of difficult, and they're fun still. I'll be honest, like the fights in this game are pretty fun. They're kind of simple, and the controls are not that great, but like you can have a good time playing this game. But it's not a challenging time whatsoever. We played just in normal mode. I don't even know if there was is there a hard mode when you open this up? I can't remember.
I don't think there was, from what I saw. But I know we could like add certain handicaps to make it more difficult.
Yeah.
And we were doing that
and
a
we
lot.
did. We did, because we would get people in our parties that were just like way over leveled. So I would add 3 or 4 handicaps just to make it so that they were having a good time. Like the people that were just like plowing the game with us. And to make it kind of difficult. It made it really difficult a couple times when like someone would lose connection. And then it was just me twice. And we were dealing with like some ridiculous shit. So there's, I mean, there was like one boss where it was like, oh, the strategy, I can't remember the name of the boss. It had some ridiculous name. It had like a whole bunch of like little shells that would fly into the air, and you would have to kill each one of the shells in order for its attacks to be lowered so that you can approach. And then they would keep like respawning, so you had to keep that in check. But then also when you were at the guy, if you were in front of him, you were fucked. And then there was like certain moves where you would have to dodge out of the way, and then you would have to get like back behind him or try to stun him or something like that. It's a her actually in this case. And that was a pretty fun boss fight. It's a lot like when the game is a lot like FF14, it's pretty good. Like there's stuff to do to kind of help take the boss down, and then you get your moments to be able to take him down. And there's a lot of like good fun in that. So I appreciated that part of the game. Mostly the Edolan fights when you're playing in a team with other people. Those are actually pretty fun. And like taking out ads and stuff like that. I dug that. So that's probably kind of the high point of the gameplay, but nothing where we were like, and we were told this game was easy before we started. So like nothing in this game was really that challenging. I'm sure it gets way harder in the higher level quests. It has to, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise why even have those? But just to beat the game, it's not very difficult, but its difficulty is not like so easy. It's like butter, right? There's a couple points where it gets a little difficult. We were mostly frustrated on one quest that we had to restart like 7 times. And that had to do with these fucking magic pots that would run away from you. You want to tell them about the magic pots, Schweiss?
Yeah, man. So we're cruising along, right? No, not a worry in the world. We're just taking this game every which way.
We're gonna beat this game tonight.
And it's like, it's so easy. It's like ridiculously easy, right? Like we're just plowing. Like it's just ridiculous how simple this game has been up to this point, right? And we get to this little quest, and it's not like a big deal. It's just like a tiny little thing, nothing much to it. And we started up, and it's like, oh, go kill 7 magic pots, and we're like, oh, okay, cool. So we go in, we start attacking these magic pots. We kill a couple of them, and then we just kind of start like separating because we realize this is a really easy quest. So like, why are we standing right next to each other? We might as well, disperse a little bit. So I go one way, Joe goes another, and we start slaughtering these guys. But the problem we ran into was that they would run. We thought we were killing them, but most of them were actually running away from us, and the camera was so like fucking like it was just tripping over itself so hard that we didn't actually notice that wasn't the case. They were running away, and they would get to the border of the area we were at.
We only had to kill 5 of them, and I was like, why do we only have 4?
Yeah.
What is happening?
And like they would just like get to the border of the area in which we're fighting, and then they would just disappear. They would just slowly fade from existence, and like it got pretty infuriating. We ran into that, and we also ran into like sometimes Joe would be fighting like nothing on my screen, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Me too,
like,
man.
I'm attacking a dude.
You would be
and
fighting nothing.
I'm like, no, you're not. I don't see a guy right there. And I'm like, fuck. So like he's hitting one, and I can't even help him hit it. And that's the thing is you got to work together to kill him fast, or they run off. You got to do that, or just use nothing but abilities. Because if you start basic attacking, it doesn't like stagger them enough, and they'll take off.
Oh yeah, you're saying that now like it didn't take us like 6 restarts to figure out that we just had to keep on using abilities, and we couldn't normal attack like whatsoever. We couldn't normal attack for more than like 2 seconds. Yeah. Because otherwise they would run off. So, like, you had to keep on using abilities, specifically ones that could stagger them, although I think 3 out of 4 of my abilities were staggering ones. Or 3 out of 4 on my attack side. I kind of had them divided into attack and heal. But yeah, that was kind of... that one was painful, because we thought the game was fucking glitching, and it was fucking us over, and it was glitching. The part where you were fighting someone that I couldn't see, that was insane.
Yeah, I would call that a glitch for sure.
Yeah, and then I went online. I was like, help, and like everybody was just like, you gotta kill the pots fast. I was like, fuck you. I have upgraded all my equipment the best it can be. And we got this guy who's like really strong in our party for a little while, and he couldn't even do it. We had to restart the quest over and over again. And it was just frustrating. Eventually we got lucky, and we figured out, we'd fight the same guy and just keep on using our abilities to stagger him, to stop him from getting away.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the fuck I would have done if I was doing that alone. I would have been so mad, so frustrated, but... there might be a difficulty difference when you're playing alone versus when you're playing with others. It might be like Diablo 2, where it gets harder the more people in your party.
It might. I don't know. I mean, I know we were turning on a lot of those little dealios that made it more difficult. But I mean, even then, like, we were playing with dudes. We got a guy in there, and we still couldn't fucking beat it. And it's like, dude, what the fuck is going on here? Like, it's one thing if we get stuck on a boss, like a boss level. It's like, okay, this is a boss. This is a Final Fantasy game. Not everything can be, a handout in the game. It's going to fuck you every once in a while. Fine. But a fucking normal level like this, I was getting so pissed off, dude. I was like, what the fuck, man? It's just sick. It's just fucking wrecking us, and it's just them running away. It's not like they're killing us, or like we can go get better equipment or anything like that. Like, there's no rhyme or reason. And even the fucking guests couldn't save us. There was no safety in numbers for this goddamn quest. But we eventually did beat it, and then we just started trucking through this thing. Like, we were just tearing it up. I was kind of amazed at how quickly we beat it, because it did not take very long. Admittedly, we played it all online, and perhaps our experience was skewed by the lords of exploring that joined that fucking cast their light upon us mere mortals for that short amount of time.
Lowercase g gods.
Yeah, lowercase g, occasional big case G, when it was a guy who wasn't trying a new class and was just there to fuck shit up, like, because there were a few that were just like, you could tell this is the only class they played because they just dominated everything in sight. Yeah.
Hogib's not loading on my phone. Could you access my Hogib account? I put my final time on there.
Yeah, I'll pull it out.
I believe. So yeah, that's kind of the game. I think it's a fun game. I don't think it's groundbreaking, and kind of the reviews as the game was coming out, I think it's just kind of, it's a little clunky. It's a little clunkaroo, but it's not unplayably clunky. It's not like Dissidia NT. It's fun to play multiplayer. I don't know if I would have loved to keep playing the single player version of this game, because it is so much just like, it's kind of got that, you're right that it's like Crystal Chronicles and it's like FF11, but it's also got that Crisis Core quality without the story, where it's just like, okay, let's select the quest thing, and then I walk through a hallway, and then I get the thing done.
Yeah.
And then I'm back to the world, and then I select the quest, I walk through a hallway, and I get the thing done. There are some quests where there's a little bit of exploring. One of the, I think, best things, and I wish more quests had been like this, was the one we had to kill 3 dragons in 3 different parts of the world, and there's a time limit.
Yeah.
And so we as a party killed 1 dragon. Me and the other guy went off to go kill another. Schweiss was always lagging behind. I have no idea what the fuck he's doing. And then Schweiss was just like, I'm just going to go kill the other dragon. So me and the one guy online like killed the dragon of the northeast. And then Kaleb killed the dragon of the southeast. separately, and we were able to get the quest done. If there were more like quests like that, I think that would have been pretty cool. But for what it was, I thought it was pretty fun. I'm a little disappointed based on like the hype of the release, but then again, we heard everybody going like, it was okay. It's kind of mediocre, and that's kind of what it was. It's fun, but it's kind of mediocre, to be honest. The gameplay,
yeah.
They could have gone a lot further with this stuff, or they could have made the controls a little bit smoother, or a little bit more actiony, in a more kind of button mashy, flowy way, instead of the way that they did it with the weird combos, which was still button mashy. It was just different.
Yeah, I don't know. You're right. It has enjoyable moments and stuff like that. The Divide and Conquer quest was really cool, because it was like, well, this one's really, really far away, and this one's kind of on the way to the next one. I'm just gonna go the real roundabout way, go snag this last one while you guys are killing the other one, and then we finished the quest pretty fast. And I was like, man, that's what you do. That's like what this is. That's what this game should be. Yeah, but it's kind of not, though. The game should be about the Divide and Conquer. It should be, and that's something that I gotten into an old PS2 game that I played recently, or years ago, Resident Evil Outbreak, right? I got it online on my PC, and like the most fun I've ever had in that game was like 4 or 5 nights ago, dividing and conquering with all of the people online. We all went after different quest items. We all found them. We all did what we needed to do to unlock the last area. And we all got there, killed the boss, finished it in like 15 minutes. And that was awesome. And like that's kind of what this little dragon killing quest reminded me of in this game. But the game doesn't really have any other iterations of that whatsoever. Like that was it. That was the one thing, the one time that this game ever even went there. Was for this one simple quest.
And to be fair, like if you're playing the monster version of this, then maybe that wouldn't be the case. But I mean, like they took the monsters out completely. Why don't have like separate quests for like multiplayer stuff, like at least bonus quests, But they don't even have that. I don't know. Yeah, it's just kind of like overall thoughts on the game play is like there's a lot of promise here. There's a lot of ways that I think they could have improved it to make it like a good streamlined action RPG experience. All they needed to do was fix the camera and the controls just a little bit, tweak them, make it a little faster maybe. And it could have been, I would say, for my money, it'd be about 20% better than what it is.
Yeah.
But as it is, it's okay.
Yeah.
It was fun enough in the multiplayer version.
Yeah, and I mean, I said, it was fun playing with you, and it was cool meeting people online and playing with them and seeing their sick, overpowered characters and stuff like that. But it's just not enough there. There's not enough meat on them bones for me to be coming back for more. I feel like we not only sucked the meat from the bones, but we also cracked the bones in half and sucked out the goddamn marrow. And now there's nothing left of this game. Like, there's no reason for me to go back, which is sad because there's a lot of gameplay left. According to the quest logs, like the quest stars or whatever, we're only halfway done with everything there is. The story's over. The shit that you need is unlocked, but our character levels are hundreds below some of the people we played with. Like, our equipment's not that great. There's tons of stuff to do. There's honestly just no desire to go and do it because it's not quite fun enough to really justify going back and finishing it up. It's just, I don't know, sadly it's just not there. I wish it was, but
I think for someone who is really detail oriented, they can go in and they can get their tiny little incremental equipment and job boosts, and that could be like quite fulfilling for someone who's into that. But as far as the rest of the game is concerned, it's fun.
Yeah. And I mean, doing that post game and doing that, which is technically where we are, I guess, it makes a little bit more sense. And that's kind of what we were doing in the end of FF11. If you remember, we were doing like pouring tons and tons of like time into grinding out these points to just get
tiny little stats,
tiny stat increases. And like, it made a difference, but it was a minuscule difference, and it was a hell of a grind, right? It kind of reminds me of that a lot, but it's even more intense because it's every item you have, you can upgrade multiple statistics within that item over and over and over and over and over again. And it's not a fast process at all. It's like you do one thing at a time and you confirm it, and it's like, well, bam, your thing's upgraded. And then it's like, all right, what do you want to do now? And then you like throw it down. It's like, well, bam, your thing's upgraded. So it's seriously like 20 minutes of me just like, hang on, I'm gonna slightly improve our chances of survival here. Like, give me about 30 minutes of honing this weapon. Like, it's just a little bit too much. Yeah, and I don't know, if they had like events and stuff like they do in some of their other online games, I could see that bringing more people back. But I just think the capacity of the 3DS sort of inhibits this type of game in one way or another. It just seems like maybe like a mainline console release for it would have been more enjoyable, a little bit more in depth.
That's probably true. Just a controller with more buttons.
Yeah,
would have probably helped a lot.
Yeah, that certainly would be a start. But it's for what it is, and I mean, it knew what it was going to be, right? For what it is, it's not bad. It's just not
bad.
It's definitely not great. It's about where the internet says it should be, I would say, as far as like the overall quality. But I had a good time. I had a good time playing it with you. I am excited to get into the next 14 expansion because I heard that's really good. Of course, we can't get into it yet. We have to finish the last like chunk of Stormblood because that's how it works. But we'll get there. And it kind of rekindled that desire to play these online games again, and that's something that we've done for a while since Final Fantasy XI, you know. And we've only had little tiny opportunities to do so since then with like some theater rhythm verses that we did. Just like some of the most wholesome podcasting we've ever done. Like, all right, 3, 2, 1, go. And then it's just like tapping the shit out of our screens. You know, there's that, and then there's the 14 stuff, and then oh shit, what else did we do? And 11, I guess. So like, there's these rare opportunities. So like, it's always enjoyable for that. But it's like, I was pretty much ready to be done the moment I beat this game. Like, I felt like I had my fill.
You talked about like fucking around with more equipment stuff. I remember that.
Yeah.
Remember you being like, I want to do this a little bit, but you just keep on rushing me. I was like, no.
You're like,
we must move on.
We don't need your...
We get 2 days off.
We don't need your 2 damage. You fuck. We'll be fine. Just attack faster. Yeah.
Up until the end, you were doing more damage than I was, to be fair.
Yeah.
You want to talk about art and music a little bit? I have a little bit of information on that stuff. Sure.
Let's dive in.
The lead artist was I have to keep on turning. I'm in the car, and it's the middle of the night, and I'm turning on my phone so I can read on my fucking notebook that I wrote on. So hold on. Toshiyuki Itahana was the lead artist for this game, and the music was composed by Tsuyoshi Sakito, which, if you guys remember, if you listen to the episode in the Black Mages episode that we just put out, Greg and I talked about him a little bit. He is the guitarist for the Black Mages, and he's also done the music for Brave Fencer Musashi. He's done some music for the Advent Children movie and the Last Remnant video game he was the composer on. And apparently, he composed most of the music for this game based solely on scant concept art and some vague themes, like that they gave him for the game.
So they gave him,
went off of that.
They gave him the complete title, and then he made the music off of it. Is that what you're telling me?
They gave him they gave him some concept art, and then they told him like, I don't remember what the theme was. It's not good versus evil, but it's something as bland as that. And then he just like went off and he made the score. So considering that, fits the game pretty well, honestly.
Yeah.
But what did you think? What do you think about the look of the game, real quick?
Ugh, excuse me. For a DS game, yeah, very boring. No. For a 3DS game, I think it looks pretty good. I liked the look of the world. I thought it was variant enough. Like there were enough different areas to satisfy my need to explore. Things were very, like you could see the enemies out in the field. You could kind of navigate the field. You had your little map. You had your ways to get to different areas. I think the game kind of looked pretty good for what it is. Just a little DS game. There's no 3D in it, which is fine because I kind of hate 3D. But I checked it, and it didn't actually 3D my screen up. So I was like, oh, okay, there's no 3D in the game. That's fine.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, which is weird because they pretty much all have 3D, I thought, but not this one. I don't know. The enemies looked cool. Some of the bosses were really cool, like fighting Diablos was fun. Shiva, Ifrit, those guys all looked really good. I liked the designs for the enemies in the game. They're all classic designs for the most part. A couple variations here and there. It's a little bit more chibied up than some of the designs in the other games, but I personally think it looks pretty good. This is kind of one of the high points to the game. It's just how it looks, because I think it's probably one of the best looking DS games I've played so far. I mean, the podcast has kind of limited me to mostly just straight up DS games, but for what it is, I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I actually think it looks pretty excellent. I think it is the best aspect of the game. I really like the not the map design necessarily, but because it pops up in between screens or whatever. But what I really like is the world design. I really like this entire island that they've made, like how it kind of like slowly transitions into like certain elemental areas.
Yeah,
and the creatures within them, how it fits in there. The actual like scheme and the lighting and the colors and all that stuff, I think is really vibrant, really cool. Screams Final Fantasy in such a good way. I think like the art design really is primo, and it's primo for DS. Like it's not PS4 quality, but for the size of the screen that you're getting, it looks really good. Character design's a little bit cartoony, but whatever. That's fine. The monster designs I think are pretty awesome. The better designs I think are probably like the original. I think they're original. I could be totally wrong, but there's a couple of Adolins that are original to this game. Mostly the one that we had to fight with the bunch of different pieces and the final boss. And
right,
stuff like
yeah.
that. Those guys were sorry, I don't remember the names, but those guys were really cool looking. And the areas that you fight them in are really cool looking. So I dig the look of this game quite a bit. I just think it looks really good. It's not like Four Heroes of Light, which kind of on the visual scale, it's disappointment. It's kind of the exact opposite. I think this is what Four Heroes of Light should look like. Yeah, good looking game in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now the music. It was fine. I listened to it a little bit more because I was kind of ashamed on the last episode that I didn't remember any of the score for Heroes of Light. Until, of course, I went in and edited the episode and remembered some pieces. But then this time I was like trying to pay attention to the musical score, and I gotta say, musical score is fine. It feels very, regular, run-of-the-mill Final Fantasy spin-off. There's none of these spin-offs, except for like some moments in like FF Adventure and, of course, the Mystic Quest battle theme. None of them are really standing out in terms of music, and I'm not really remembering the pieces like you do in the main series stuff, which I've even played some of these main series games only once and just for the show, and I still remember some of the pieces from them.
Yeah, exactly.
So it does kind of tell you that Nobuo Uematsu, there is something special about his music that a lot of these composers are just not hitting. And, there's a reason why he's a legend, right? So, obviously that's part of it.
Yeah, I agree. There are a couple tracks in For Heroes that I liked quite a bit, and it stands out. But you're right. This game's soundtrack, it's ambient. It fits. It never was like,
I don't think it's ambient, but
I guess it's not ambient, but it's just very atmospheric. That's what I mean, not ambient. It fits its zones.
It's not calling attention to itself, except for the battle theme, which plays every 15 seconds. Because you're always fighting something.
Yeah.
And it'll keep on playing that battle theme. And I think that's more of a problem with the programming than the theme itself. Would have made the theme a little bit annoying.
But see, I liked the theme in For Heroes, and I was in that theme for quite some time on occasions.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a middle ground soundtrack. I mean, kind of a low point actually for the series, but for all games it would be somewhere in the middle. It's just there's nothing hummable really. There's nothing memorable, and it's weird because it's so like some of these other titles that we've played in the past, but it's so very unlike it when it comes to the soundtracks. It's just kind of barren. You can kind of tell that there was not a whole lot of thought and not a whole lot of like preparation available for the composer to make this soundtrack due to the constrictions that they oddly gave him, gave them to work with.
I mean, he's a decent musician, and he might never have gotten a project where he's reached his full potential. And obviously, I don't know the Musashi stuff at all, so I don't know this guy that well. But he can rip on the guitar in the Black Mage's music because he's the guitarist and he's an incredible shredder.
Yeah.
So I will give him that. Just like this soundtrack, it's fine for what it is for the game. I do think that the battle theme is repetitive, and because of that, it's and they use it too much. So because of the repetition of hearing the battle theme over and over again, I did get annoyed by it. But like near the end, I was like, "Oh, please stop playing the same theme." Like we're near the end of the game, played something else or play something in a different area or something like that. And they never did. I don't know if it's necessarily his fault, like when they programmed the battle theme to play, but music is it's okay. I do like the art and the design though. I think that's excellent. Any other thoughts about that category?
No, not so much. Also, just so you know, the final boss was Pandora, and the guy we were talking about was Amartasu or something like that. The dude with the weird crystals. But it's yeah, Therion and those guys, Pandora. Like those guys were cool, but the design was fine. The music, though, I don't know if this is really a great project for this guy, but I mean, again, I don't really know if any of his other works, like you were saying. It sounds like he kind of got a raw deal, and it sounds that way to me in the game. It just sounds, it's just kind of whatever, like it wasn't he wasn't intimately involved with it, and you can kind of tell, and Naboo is like like we said before, he's like a staple in the earlier titles, so he was very involved with it, and all of the pieces are like so, most of them were so magnificent and epic in their scale and stuff like that, and I feel like that's because they worked so closely together, and maybe there's something to that. I don't know. I would have to check out some of his other stuff, but yeah, it'd be somewhere in the middle of all game soundtracks ever. If I were to just like throw it at a dartboard, it'd be dead center. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. It was there.
All right, well, Schweiss, did we have any questions whatsoever?
No, we did not.
I thought we got one. We got one on one of my Twitter posts. I had two. I had two Twitter posts, remember, Schweiss?
Oh, okay.
One I asked right after we beat the game.
Recording.
It's got a still of, like, the DS.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Will you ever play an SE game after all of this? Is the question we got. So will we ever play a Square Enix game after all of this
yes.
trouble we've been through? Yeah, I mean, 16's going to come out, right? 7 Remake's going to come out. That'll technically be after all of this, so.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not the 7 Remake. We do have, what is it? What did I tell you? We have 26 games?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's a good amount of games left.
It's decent.
Yeah. This is our 61st game review, by the way. That does include expansions and stuff. I think it's our 48th complete standalone game.
God, isn't that a lot? That's so many games, dude.
It's so many fucking games.
These are beasts, too. These are biggies, man. It's not like we're playing a 2-hour fighting game. I mean, the one time we did, I guess, but that was the one time.
Oh, the first number where I said it was 60, it's because I forgot to put Dissidia on the list because it was the old list where it just had 0, 1, 2.
Oh, yeah,
I was like, oh, fuck, there's a whole nother one. It's 61 games. But yeah. Yeah, I'll play some more Square Enix games after this. Frankly, like, I'm... As soon as UFF is totally over, and I don't mean like just when the weekly show is over. I mean over. Yeah, I'll probably be up for some games every once in a while. You know, it'll be fun. I'm really excited to get into Kingdom Hearts. We got like fucking 9 games before we get into Kingdom Hearts, but I'm real excited for that.
Yeah. That and Chrono Trigger.
Totally we'll play some Square Enix games after that. There's things like The Last Remnant that I still want to play, and I never actually got to play. Infinite Undiscovery, I wanted to check that out. I might have just butchered that name as well.
It's something bullshit like that.
Yeah, I wanted to try the newer Tomb Raider game. Yeah, there's other Square Enix games I want to play.
Yeah, for sure. The answer is definitely yes. Super, only slightly related to this game, but yeah, I'll play other games by him. I don't have any problem with the company. I mean, well, I do have problems, but I mean, not drastically, not to the point where I'm like so done with the company as a whole that I'm out.
I'm out. Yeah. Totally will. Legacy of the game. And we didn't get any... Oh, we got one review, didn't we? We'll do it after Legacy, because that's like a good time.
Yeah.
Legacy of this game. It's got an average of 69 out of 100 on Metacritic. The Famitsu score... so kind of like the people representing the Japanese point of view, I guess. The Famitsu score is 32 out of 40, so kind of in the same area. It did end up selling 250,000 copies in Japan, which means it probably, I'm guessing it sold that much or maybe a little bit more here in North America and Europe. So I'm guessing we might be, after this much time, we might be at 1 million in sales. Maybe.
Yeah.
Unless that number's off, of course. But so I think it did well. I remember a lot of people, I mean, we just started the show when we did this, but I remember... or not just started the show. We were a year into the show at this point. I remember that like this was going to be a big release, and then it was kind of a disappointing thing, and now it's slowly gone off and kind of died.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a big thing, but then like its mediocrity caught up with it, and no one plays it. So I don't think the legacy is very strong with Final Fantasy Explorers. This is me projecting here. As far as I can tell, as far as our fan community, they don't ever fucking talk about this game. So I'm going to guess that, like, you know, 5 years from now, it'll be like, Final Fantasy Explorer what? Like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
kind of feel the same way. I mean, we definitely heard about it. It had some buzz in the community upon release, but it didn't last, and you know, there's a reason for that. It's because it's just not that great. It's just pretty mediocre in a bunch of ways that Final Fantasy is traditionally not mediocre. You know, like the story is usually solid in these games, the music is usually pretty great, and those are two areas that this game is pretty bland in, extremely bland. And the gameplay is fun, but also very flawed at the same time. So, like, it's not a fun story. It's not a fun soundtrack. It's not really a super fun game to play. So, yeah, I feel like that's essentially its legacy, as I see it as well, is just kind of a game that came out, had some buzz behind it, had some excitement, and then just died. And I was honestly, I'm kind of surprised the servers are even still up. You know, I don't know how the DS works with that shit. I mean, maybe there aren't servers. Maybe it's just like straight
It might
up.
be locally hosted. I think that might be why, like, some people would, like, disconnect every once in a while.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it might be hosted on, like, the person who's got it on their DS.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea.
There's some games that are
does.
like that.
Because, like, I can't imagine them actually paying money to keep those things up, you know?
It's only 4 people, and it's a small game. It's a small system, so I can't imagine.
You're probably right. It's probably a host thing, and you were just hosting everything, which is kind of a genius idea, and that kind of lets these games live on, you know? It lets it...
As long as it's not a fighting game like Dissidia NT.
Yeah, then it's fucking horrible. God, that was so bad online, dude. Fuck me. Playing it against people in, like, Japan, I'm like... The lag is like incorrigible in this fucking game. It's unforgivable. Like, how the fuck am I supposed to platinum this piece of trash if I can't even fucking block? I can't see them until they're already killing me. Like, fuck, dude. Fuck that game.
So yeah, I guess we both agree on the legacy just being like not great. Kind of disappeared fast. It's gonna disappear even faster. It's just gonna be gone. You're not gonna be able to play at least a multiplayer game in just a couple years. No one's gonna be on. No one's on now.
Yeah.
There were people that hopped on with us, so I guess there are people. There's not that many people hosting games, which is interesting. But yeah, that's kind of where it's at. What did our one listener with a review say about it?
All right, so like Joe said, only one review for the game, and I mean, if you guys can't guess who it was, then you simply have not been paying attention to the podcast at large. So our one review comes from a good friend of the program, Shinryu, whatever you want to call it. Says, bought this game because it was the first non-music FF game on the 3DS. Heard it was like Monster Hunter meets FF14. I got it, and I had a lot of fun playing with friends online. Even if the game wasn't the greatest multiplayer with friends, it's where the fun was, so I had a good time playing this. Would recommend for fans and people that want to play it with friends.
Yeah, not playing it alone. He's not recommending anybody play this alone.
Yeah. And I mean, I get that, but it's... I don't know. It's a really interesting review because he mostly just says friends over and over, like, play it with friends. I enjoyed playing it with friends. You should play it with friends. Everyone, friends, play it, friends.
I mean, that's what we did. We hooked up on Discord and just played it online.
Yeah.
And that was fun. Sure, it was fun. Yeah. Okay. Overall thoughts, Schweiss. I'll let you go first.
It's okay. It's worth playing, I would say. And I would say play it. I mean, I know I said it's worth playing, and I mean that. But the biggest thing that I dig about it is the online aspect to it, and I feel like that is the biggest part that keeps me coming back and kept me wanting to come back and play with Joe. So find somebody that you're going to play it with, or just find a server online and jump in and do it. I think it's worth a playthrough, and I think it's worth what it costs now, because it's only like $15, $20. You know, it's not a big expense, and you can either spend the time to beat it and call it good, like your lovely omnipotent hosts here with our godliness of finishing all these fucking games. So Joe spent $18.52 on it. I spent 16 hours and 40 minutes. Like, I'd say that's probably worth $20. And if you like it more, you can play it more. You know, I like the dollar per hour spent theory, and we're not too far off of that. You know, anything under 20 hours or it's like, and it's not over $30 is kind of fine. So I would say give it a go. Don't expect a whole lot, and you won't be super disappointed. There's a lot of little fun things in the game. You know, the farming can be enjoyable, just to see the cool outfits. It's another one of those remember when Final Fantasies, you know, because near the end of the game, I unlocked the Squall outfit. It was pretty powerful. So that was the biggest damage dealing outfit in the game, as far as like the big outfits that I had access to build. Unfortunately, it gender locks, you know, the lightning costume, or I would have worn that. But you know, apparently in 2016 there is a place for mild transphobia in the Square Enix. Transphobic. Yeah, certainly homophobic material. Because I was seriously going to be like, oh, the lightning one, I'll buy it. And you know what?
At least it doesn't race lock you.
That's true, yeah. It's like,
That'd be fucked up.
You're a white guy. You can't be Squall. You're not Asian. I'm like, what? They're white too. I would argue they're whiter than I am. Like, what the fuck?
You have to be Snow.
Yeah.
You have to be Snow.
You gotta be
only.
You gotta be the douche bra of the game. Yeah, so I suppose it's better than that, you know. So that was unfortunate, but like, there's a lot of. It's another one of those FFs where it's just like celebrating the series at large. This one kind of falls flat compared to a couple of the others with the theater rhythms in mind, and like the Dissidias. Those kind of have more of a grand, like, farewell to the series, or like a time to reminisce on what we've been doing for the last 5 years for us. Anyway, this one's a little bit less so on that end, but there is a lot of stuff that you can unlock and equip it's kind of brings you back, you know. And it's enjoyable for that, but I think honestly, if you want more, you can have more. We only got halfway through the content, I say with air quotes, because a lot of it's repeats, like I said. But if you want to play it all the way to the end, go for it. But I think it is worth one playthrough. I think it's definitely worth that. If you can find it used, you know, $15-$20, it's totally worth picking up, in my opinion. Even though I don't think it's that great.
I think used it needs to be like 10.
Yeah, yeah.
I bought it new twice at $18 or whatever. It was like 15 maybe. All right, so my overall thoughts on this game. I think I'm a little warmer to it than you are this time around, Schweiss. I thought it was fun. I think there's problems with it, and it's certainly like I think it's on the better side of mediocrity. Like it's all right. Yeah, it was fun. And kind of with that attitude too, where you're like, like, it was fun. It was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed playing it multiplayer. It was all right single player, at least a little bit that I played of it. I think maybe collecting the monsters would be pretty cool, but once you get apparently the awesome team, what the fuck do you need to get a whole bunch of monsters for? But yeah, I enjoyed my time in this game. I wish there was a little bit more variety in the quests, and I wish the controls were a little better and less clunky. The multiplayer was pretty smooth. We had some disconnects every once in a while, but I think it's locally. I think it's like a local internet sort of thing. So I think that's really where the issues from there lie. I think it's mostly my internet. But I thought it was a good game. There is a lot of growth. There's a lot of areas for people who are really into small stat boosts or playing around with jobs. There's a lot of stuff to explore when it comes to that in Final Fantasy Explorers. And the game, it's if anything, it's a really great looking handheld title. I know no one really cares about that. Definitely not one of those things that trumps gameplay in terms of if you'll enjoy the game. But yeah, I liked the game. Not great. It's definitely not as good as 4 Heroes of Light, which we just played. So if we had played Crystal Bears before this, we'd probably be looking at this game pretty positively.
Yeah.
But we didn't. We played 4 Heroes of Light before it. So this game, it's okay. And I would say, yeah, it's pretty decent. I'd pick it up used. I think it's worth about $7 to $10. That's kind of, play it online with friends. That's probably the best way to do it. But, maybe the Monster Hunter version, specifically with the monster summoning and stuff, that version might be better than we give it credit for. We obviously didn't play that much of it, so who knows? But yeah, those are my overall thoughts. Schweiss, I actually wrote down rankings. I was ranking FF Adventure and my stuff, and actually FF Adventure was a long time ago and not even part of this. So it's just 4 Heroes of Light, Mystic Quest, and Final Fantasy Explorers. How would you rank those 3 games? Curious.
So, Final Fantasy Explorers, Mystic Quest, and 4 Heroes of Light?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Well, 4 Heroes of Light is easily the best one.
Yeah.
Is the mediocrity of Mystic Quest more mediocre than Explorers?
It's got a sweet battle theme. But it does kind of just play itself. It does have more of a story.
Yeah.
But the gameplay is also, I think, less fun with Mystic Quest. I'm going to put Explorers as second for sure against Mystic Quest. I think Mystic Quest is also a bunch of mediocrity, but it's on the lower end of mediocrity than Final Fantasy Explorers. Different age too, different era of games that it is also mediocre against.
Yes, yes, for sure.
But I do think maybe it's just my modern interpretation of Explorers being a game that I think is a little better than Mystic Quest. But I'm going 4 Heroes at the top for sure, way further up, and then Explorers, and then Mystic Quest.
I'm going to agree with that. I mean, 4 Heroes is certainly the best one here in the spin-offs so far. Anyway, we have one more. We'll see how we feel after that's said and done. Then Totally Explorers by just a hair, honestly, because they're both kind of not great. And then Mystic Quest. And kind of for different reasons, too. Like you said, the music is kind of better in Mystic Quest, but the gameplay is definitely more fun and fulfilling in Explorers, so I'm going to let it edge it out just a little bit. Neither story was super compelling. There certainly was more of one in Mystic Quest, but I feel like that one's kind of overrated, honestly. And this one's rated about where it needs to be. So yeah, that's kind of where we are with the spin-offs. We have one more for our spin-off standalone rankings with World of Final Fantasy, which will be our next title. that we're going to review.
Yep. World of Final Fantasy is our next game. We're going to try to read 3 books, listen to 1 audio drama, watch the rest of 1 television show, and we got to do the commentaries on those. And then we'll have World of FF. Then we're going to have a few weeks of some special project that we've been working on. And then we'll have our finale. So that's where we're at. So World of Final Fantasy, we got a few weeks to beat.
Yeah. So when do you want that? When do you want that done? Like, what are you shooting for?
I think we need to give ourselves. Oh fuck! Just dropped my pen. Oh man, I don't know. I think it's gonna be like 6 weeks away, 6 or 7 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. Try to make a review every episode, unless we have the Patreon invite, of course, that comes through, and then we can have that and push the other stuff down. But yeah,
perfect.
That's our last thing. We have 2 Final Fantasy 13 books. One, obviously, we just put in the mix. We'll have another one next week. Hope you guys listen to them and enjoy them. And we got the reviews for those things. So we'll have the review for Final Fantasy 13-2 Fragments after next week. And then we'll have a book. We'll have Tracer of Memories. It's got a longer title of that, but that's the only part of the fucking thing I can remember. And then we'll have the review for Tracer of Memories. And then we'll have to have the 10.2.5 audiobook, and then the review for the 10.2.5 audiobook. And then the review for the sequel to the audiobook that's already in audio form, and then after that it's Final Fantasy Unlimited. We can switch around the order a little bit if you want, twice. We can talk about that off air.
Yeah.
But after those are done, then it's World of Final Fantasy. So I'm looking at I should have been counting the weeks as I was counting off those episodes. I think it's 7 weeks.
All right, we can shoot for that.
Yeah.
So I have a couple.
For a 40-hour game, not too bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. I have a couple reviews that I want to go through, just because we got a few minutes here. So thank you guys for all of you who've left us reviews, including one of these fuckers that gave us one today. Thank you all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We got another one? We got another bad one?
Yeah,
wow.
it's the end.
We're really fucking up right at the end of our show.
Yeah, that's great. We're just Game of Thrones it in. We're just taking a big shit in the last little while.
I don't think so, man. We've never done this many reviews so quickly. Come on.
I don't know. Fucking whatever. So the first one is titled Farewell Review, a 5-star review from Ohuli.
Hey, how about you start with the bad review?
Okay, fine. First up,
please,
from 3 days ago, a 1-star review from Omar Rinrin.
1 star, wow.
Great until it wasn't. I was enjoying their reviews of the games for the last couple of days until it became too uncomfortable to listen. Some of their opinions are too tone-deaf to let them pass. The content is not worth some of their cringeworthy comments. Okay, so I'm glad...
Wait, that's it?
Yeah, that's it. I'm glad you were enjoying it until you weren't. But the content isn't worth some of our cringeworthy comments. The content's free. What worth does it have? Also, fuck you. FF8 is super overrated, so fucking suck it. That's probably what he got mad about. I don't know. But, you know what? Shit happens. It's kind of not fair, though. Great until it wasn't. Is it great and then, total ass so bad that, you gave it 1? Because great is 5 or 4, and then it's well, it kind of slid down. I'd be 3, maybe 2 stars. He's no, fucking 1 star. You fucked up.
I would also like to hear, what was the comment?
Yeah, or, I don't know. I don't know, man. It just seems like there's probably something they really disagree with. And they were I'm kind of done. which is fine because our earlier stuff is kind of rough to listen to. I'll be honest, but
we have no idea what era of UFF they were listening to.
Yeah, that's the tough part. That's why it's like if you guys are going to rag on us, you got to tell us why. Like, you got to give us a vague idea of where we were transphobic, homophobic, and vaguely racist.
Where we were vaguely transphobic, racist, and homophobic.
Exactly. And we need to know when so that we can fix it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that one's not as incendiary as insidious as some of the
I
others.
think the star rating is ridiculous if he was enjoying it. Unless he was unless he listened to one episode and then we hit a spot and then he was like, fuck it. You suck.
Yeah. It's like, really, we have 11 one-star reviews or ratings on here now. And it's like, God damn it. Like, fucking 3 of them are in the last, 20. Like, just leave us alone. Just fucking stop it. But fine.
I don't care anymore. I think I would have cared if it was earlier on. Luckily, we didn't get that much negative feedback in the early part of the show.
Yeah, which is funny because, I
know, Drew, we got a 1-star review for the first time on the Godzilla podcast, 2 months ago.
Yeah, I saw it. I was
Drew was angry about it. And I was like, dude, it doesn't matter. It's such a we gave a mediocre review to King of the Monsters, and I was like, that's a movie that people that are Godzilla fans really like, and me and you watched it both as Godzilla fans and as fans of movies, and thus came out kind of in the middle going, eh.
Yeah.
And now you're gonna have someone who goes on to find the new podcast talking about King of the Monsters, and they're not gonna be happy with what you say, and then they're gonna shit on you.
It seems ridiculous though that it gets to a level where they basically just called you guys they're like, oh, they're young and what did they say?
They're young, dumb, and full of cum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Classic line.
Classic fucking gotcha on the fucking on the great reviews on iTunes. Young, dumb, and full of cum. 1 star. Fuck you. Your review sucks.
It's Point Break. Where that line's from, but it's all right. But yeah, they
called you young.
Drew was kind of angry about it, and I was at a point, I was like, dude, I've been doing UFF for 5 years, and at this point, I'm just like, the 1-star reviews are ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's the 3-star reviews
those ones
that are going to, cut you.
Those ones hurt, yeah, because it's part of you knows that it's true, and then the other part is like, fuck you, man. You didn't even have the balls to give us a 1-star. I can't even rage and get over it. I just rage and it simmers. It just sits underneath my skin and for the rest of my life. Yeah, but that one was so dumb, though, because they were like, oh, you guys don't appreciate the finer art that is kaiju films, this lost art of filmmaking. And I'm like, that's the one thing.
Through all these old movies.
That's the one thing that they do appreciate. All right, guys. Actually, we're just going to read the one review today because somehow the file on my end of the spectrum here, I have the podcast. Everything that I said from the first review on, or at least this point in the first review on, turned into sounds. Not great, not desired, very, very upsetting. We had some great dialogue after that, but that is now lost. Lost in time, I would say. So thank you guys for hanging out for this review of Final Fantasy Explorers. Please get excited for the next audiobook that'll be coming out next week or the week after. We haven't decided if we're going to review the one that Joe did next week or what. I feel like that's probably what we're going to do. But be excited for that. And also get on that world of Final Fantasy. We want your reviews. We want your questions on the game. This is our last review for the weekly show. Guys, get in on it. I know a lot of you guys played this bad boy, so if not, if you didn't finish it, now's the best time. Finish it with us. But anyway, guys, thank you for hanging out with us. And as always, enjoy the grind.